Hey, I'm Chel. I'm 10 months pregnant.
Every politician you see on TV right now is a CGI.
We don't live in a natural environment where weather is just natural.
Nobody does anything to us.
Learn that you are just as powerful as Jesus.
It's controlled, just like everything else is controlled, and it's controlled
This world is pretty corrupt. What's going on?
by the elite.
Why am I paying taxes? What are taxes?
See them as the child that was abused. See them as the teenager that went through this, and that. Then you quantum jump.
Together in the truth of what it means to be a woman.
This video right here was my introduction to the individual who we will be discussing today. And I could not just scroll on by. I decided I had to look into the void. And the void looked back. Mama Chel is a self-proclaimed spiritual mentor currently living in the jungles of Costa Rica. She owns a farm where she holds women's-only retreats that aim to awaken the matriarchy, forced into suppression by not just men and the patriarchy, but also trauma and processed foods. She's a mother of at least one kid, although I think she has multiple, I'm not entirely sure. But she has some very questionable parenting techniques and ideologies that make me very concerned for her children's well-being. Oh, and she's an author. Because of course she is. Aren't they always? She has a long history of alleged cult activity, forced starvation, heavy drug use, potential child abuse, extremist, and I mean extremist, political conspiratorial beliefs, and horrible takes on trauma and healing. Oh, and sometimes she calls herself God. There's so much to get into, but quickly before we start, my name is Hannah, and this is the start of a new series that I'm going to do on my YouTube channel called Freaks on Friday, where every Friday I talk about an individual who I find interesting. I also vlog because it's fun. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, or you want to catch the next episode of Freaks on Friday, make sure to subscribe. And if this video gets 50 likes, I will read Unweaving the Way of Trauma, and I will make a video on it. And you know what? I think it might just make my trauma worse. One more note, everything I'm about to say is my opinion and alleged. And it's legally okay for me to say that because it's my opinion and it's alleged. Also fair use. Transformative content. Please don't come for me. I'm disabled and that would be a hate crime. Also, please do not go harass or contact any of the people I talk about in this video. Thank you. Now let's get into it. Now before I start to talk shit, I would like to shed some light on Mama Chel's past and what led her to where she is now. And give her credit where credit is due, because I do admire her for certain things. Not a lot, but a few. There's no better way to do that than to tell you in her own words. To start, in the first episode of her podcast, Ascension Immersion podcast, which only had 3 episodes, so I don't know what happened to that podcast, but she talks a lot about her past, and it was pretty rough. Her mom sounds very bringing in drug addicts into the home where those drug addicts allegedly assaulted her, Mama Chel, and her sisters. She calls her mom by her first name, which is completely understandable given the horrible things that her mother did, and I think it helps us understand where she is and where she goes, where Mama Chel goes in life. There's also no better way to tell her story than from her own words, so I'm going to read for you a caption under one of her posts from September of 2021. I will warn you, her grammar is dog shit. And she can't seem to keep a streamline of cohesive thoughts ever, but I'm going to do my best to translate and interpret. Great. So here's the caption on that post. Quote, in 2019, I was consuming the fear and pain from animal products, smoking cigarettes, but they're American spirits, so it's fine, drinking some wine, not a bottle a day like in the States, coming off a 6 to 7 year Adderall addiction, and involved in an extremely unhealthy, low-frequency, deep karmic relationship with a man who was not prepared to live in another country. I was selfishly standing my ground, being the conscious one in my relationship, expecting him to completely fit my narrative of love. End quote. First off, it's amazing that she is able to kick her addiction to Adderall. Kudos to her, that is incredible. As an SA and abuse victim myself, I can sympathize with her a lot, and she says she's worked through her trauma, and that's very admirable. She does seem to believe in forgiveness and that we choose our own battles and own trauma, which I don't agree with, but we'll get there. While I think her logic is a bit flawed and her wording is strange, if being a vegan helps you feel better, amazing, great, love that for you. I don't think you're like transferring the pain from the chicken when you eat a chicken tender. But if it makes you feel better, go for it. And good on her for realizing the issues in her relationship and the issues that she brought into the relationship as well. It's a very difficult thing to realize that, you're projecting onto your partner something that isn't accurate or something that they can never be. And so good on her for realizing that, and I'm assuming changing with partners, I don't know. While I do admire her for overcoming her addiction, working through her trauma, and doing what's best for her, her beliefs and decisions are not just affecting her, but her children and her followers and students. And that's the problem. Now, I mentioned she hosts retreats, and I bet you're wondering, Hannah, what does she teach at these retreats? Well, let's just jump right into it. The first lesson you might learn from Mama Chel, especially if you follow her chronologically on her Instagram, is how to break free from the 3D matrix. Yes, I did just say that. Yes, so does Andrew Tate.
Matrix is trying to frame me, but God knows the truth.
Her earliest Instagram posts are all about the matrix we live in and how to break free from it. However, this isn't exactly the matrix in the movie. To demonstrate, let me just read the caption from her oldest Instagram post from January of 2021. Buckle up. It's a long one, but I think reading it in full is very, very important to set the groundwork for what we're about to go through in this very long endeavor. Take a deep breath. Are you ready? Quote, "We are living in a holographic reality created by the collective consciousness. We are operating in multiple realities during this divine design, and it is up to each one of us which timeline we reside in. Some of us are choosing to ascend out of the lower frequency 3D drama, and some of us are glued to the story like our life force depends on it. That is a program." Oh, God, this fucking sentence. None of that nonsense really matters, and ascending out of exchanging energy with that timeline is the grand prize most of us don't know is the obstacle in front of us preventing further awakening. No, I don't understand what that sentence meant. That nonsense will always be there, but collectively so many of us have awoken to our true sovereignty. Mothership Earth ascended out of the lower densities where she was previously docked. To remove ourselves from the program takes awareness and action. Both will ascend us out of the lower density 3D reality and open paths to heaven on earth. Expanding our consciousness is our sovereign responsibility. I don't trust any motherfucker who says the word sovereignty that much. She continues, "The gift of awakening is available to us all if we choose it. Every new sunrise, we must choose to take responsibility for ourselves, for our old patterns, and apparently take responsibility for our abusers." But we'll talk about that later. Choose higher frequency responses and break out of the illusionary 3D construct. Choosing to unplug from the Matrix game is not immediate and is not easy. We have lived a long cycle in this stagnant state of amnesia, essentially comatose due to excessive programming. Hollywood actors, music industry, movies and TV shows, etc. are all to keep us enslaved in the program, i.e. the Matrix. If you want out of the lower frequency timeline, you must take action to unlearn the lies and relearn the truths of our heart center. Our portal back home to who and what we actually are. Remember who you are, and nobody can control you. End quote. I don't even know where to start with this, so I'm just going to continue to tell you about her Unhinged Matrix fanfic. Also, quick note, the videos I'm going to be playing in this section of her talking and what she says have so much background noise. Someone is doing yard work. And I don't know why she couldn't just wait to film this, but I'm sorry. I will do my best to, after the video, kind of repeat it so that if you cannot understand what she's saying, we can all collectively get it together. Okay. Remember in 2012 when the Mayan calendar ended and everyone thought that the world was going to end, and you have OCD, so like you couldn't stop thinking about it and you really, really deadass thought the world was going to end, and then like you're crying and like hyperventilating until it finally happened, and obviously the world didn't end. Yes, I sent every chain text and email I've ever gotten. Fuck you. Anyways, well, apparently the world did end in 2012. Actually, a hologram ended and a new one started.
So 2012, whenever we thought the world was going to end, it did. That hologram actually did halt, and a new one went online. And that new one is what allowed us to start waking up.
My head hurts. She likes to refer to cities as concrete jungles, and under every concrete jungle is a 3D generator that keeps the frequency low.
In every single concrete jungle, and every single major city under the major city, under the concrete, is a third dimensional generator. That as long as people are in fear, their energy is keeping this generator going. And as long as this generator is going, everyone will stay at that frequency. Wow.
What you need to take away from this, being on the third dimension, cringe and lame, not vibes. What you need to be is in the fifth dimension. The fourth dimension is limbo. You don't want to be there. You're getting there, but you're still being dragged down. We need to get to the fifth dimension. But Hannah, how do I get to the fifth dimension? Well, lucky for us, she made a whole last 21-minute video explaining how to get it there and what it is. Yay! Essentially, 5D is just higher vibration. It's not a place, but a frequency. When you're in the 5D vibrations, the people lower than you, the people around you, can't even comprehend the vibes that you're on. And to get to the 5D, you have to set boundaries. You have to cut out those 3D people in your life. And I agree with setting boundaries. You need to set some boundaries. But she takes it further by saying you must make an alliance with the universe to protect those boundaries. And the universe will literally push people away from you, like bounce them off like an invisible bubble who don't pass your vibe check. You have to get rid of all of the low vibe things in your life. And pretty much everything from Hollywood operates at a low frequency. And you want to know why? It's because it's involved with a cabal. Oh yes, I don't know if you saw that one coming, but we'll get there. You have to unfollow and block people that don't align with you, that you don't align with, that don't match the vibes that you're on. Like she shows us in a video later that I will play for you, which is very fucking funny.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh, and you have to be a vegan, because of course you do. She even goes so far as to say that if you are anemic and your doctor tells you need to eat meat, no, that's bad. Apparently, just eating a fuck ton of greens will help with that anemia. She also refuses to use anything with chemicals in it, even though everything has chemicals in it. Everything is made up of chemicals, including natural products, but okay. She does have a post that being in the 3D matrix forces you to pay taxes, so to be free, you have to stop paying your taxes. I will not comment on this. Now we're going to talk about her extremist political views and her crazy conspiracy theories. First and foremost, she identifies herself as a conspiracy theorist, which should be the first red flag. And don't get me wrong, I love a good conspiracy, okay? The CIA killed JFK, we all know that, all right? But when you go around proudly proclaiming that the cabal is running Hollywood and taking your children for adrenochrome, red flag for days. First, politics aren't even real. Every politician you see on TV is CGI. They're not real. They're dead.
Every politician you see on TV right now is a CGI. They're not real, they're dead.
She goes on to talk about how all of the politicians died in 2012 when the hologram switched off and the new one started. And she mentions the Clintons directly, which is a very risky game if you ask me. But what do I know? But what if you see a politician in person? A clone. I'm being serious. Would it surprise you if I told you that she's a COVID denier who didn't like to wear masks and was anti-vax?
And she's also anti-vax with her kids too, not just for COVID, but we'll get there.
No, that didn't surprise you? Really? Yeah, me neither. But in order to get to the topic of COVID, we have to take a little bit of a left turn. That was my right. But we'll end up right back at COVID, I promise. Just stay with me, okay? Like I said, she can't form cohesive thoughts, but I've gathered it for you, okay? Stay with me. Everything is energy and frequency, which is true. Science. Everything in life is the way it is because of the energy that humans produce and what energy humans vibe at. For example, humans energetically keep the moon up. AI, okay, I know, just hold on. AI is going to be destroyed because it operates on a lower frequency. It malfunctions at higher frequencies. Fear is the energy that keeps AI running, and fear is what causes COVID. We got there. I told you we'd get back. She says if you're wearing a mask or you wore a mask, you are participating in the 3D, so shame on you. But then goes on to say that she does also wear a mask when she goes to the grocery store.
You walk out of your apartment and you're wearing a mask, you're participating in 3D. I understand. I will wear a mask when I go to the grocery store because I need to go in there and get things.
That doesn't sound very fifth dimensional to me, Mama Chel. She then tries to make a point about how people living in rural areas don't have to wear a mask, but people in cities or concrete jungles do. And it's supposed to be like, yeah, the energy frequency is so bad, it's so negative, COVID's really bad in all these concrete jungles because of all the bad vibes and the 3D frequency things under the ground.
But I guarantee you, the people who live in rural areas, areas where they're on land and not in the jungle, concrete jungle, they don't walk out of their freaking beautiful little cabin and put on a mask because they're mentally already out of the system.
Now, I know she is high as hell in this video because she won't stop fucking coughing and clearing her throat every 3 seconds, and it's driving me up a wall. I know she's high as hell. But just a cool little fact, diseases spread faster in higher populated areas. So if you live in the middle of the jungle in Costa Rica, you probably don't have to put a mask on when you step outside your house. But if you live in New York, 1, I'm so sorry. 2, you need to put a mask on because you're gonna run into somebody as soon as you step out of your front door. Oh, and she's also a QAnon girly.
Always felt like this world is pretty corrupt. What's going on? Why am I paying taxes? What are taxes? Why is the government treating me this way? Why do we have to do all of these things? Doesn't it feel like I work really hard so that the government can take my money? All of the things we've been thinking. Doesn't it seem pretty crazy that celebrities are ruling our world? Doesn't it seem pretty crazy that some geek who has a computer company can tell us what to do? There's so many of these things that we've already been thinking, and then Q stepped on stage and there was our voice. And what it did was it cued the awakening in us to say, yeah, okay, I want to fight that battle too. And so what Q did was presented to us all of the things that we had really been thinking. It resonated with our soul. When Q came on, that character resonated with our soul.
My mom said this same shit, still says this same shit, and I can confirm from first-hand experiences that it fucks you up as a child, and it fucks you up for the rest of your life. Speaking of the cabal, she brings up our old pal, adrenochrome. She brings up adrenochrome and then says, why else would they be taking our children? She doesn't elaborate further because she's high as hell and starts talking about something else. But I'm pretty sure that this relates to another subsect of conspiracy theorists who believe that CPS just takes away their kids for satanic rituals and trafficking. I can do a video on that another day if anyone's interested. But for now, just know that I think that's what she's referring to. But I can tell you, and my husband can attest to, that CPS does not do shit, okay? So if CPS takes your kid, you have to be real bad. You gotta be real bad, okay? So no, they're not taking your kid for ritualistic use. You're just a shit parent. I spent like 12 hours on this video. Just the script. Help. Oh, and here's this meme that she made and reposted.
The yoke of the devil has been destroyed.
I'ma just leave that there. Okay. Adam and Eve, real humans, who didn't eat a forbidden fruit, they decided to eat a human soul, which apparently is worse than cannibalism. Also, Noah's Ark is real, but it's a mothership that took all of us, humans and animals alike, and animals were bipedal and talking to us. And I'm assuming that we were using star language or light language, which is something she says later on in her posts. But Noah's Ark is real, and we all came to Earth to elevate our souls. Also, Mother Mary was part of a tribe of women who consciously conceived Jesus, and Mother Mary volunteered as tribute. I say that she literally makes a joke about Hunger Games volunteering as tribute. Just so you know, she brings up Christianity in a lot of very weird, sacrilegious ways.
And you learn that you are just as powerful as Jesus, and you will perform all of the miracles that he does, then you understand that it's just a big book of codes.
I don't know. Oh, and remember that reptilian Christmas video in the intro? Well, here's another Christmas conspiracy video that she reposted for you.
Placing your child on Santa's lap. Where did the tradition come from? There's a pagan deity named Moloch. He was a human-like man with a bull head. Upon his lap was a furnace. The community would bring their unwanted or first child to Moloch for a sacrifice. Placing the child on the lap, and with worshipping him, he would fulfill your wishes. You are continuing this ritual They just dressed it up for you.
I love it here. Now here's the good shit. Now if you thought we would go this entire video without talking about ancient aliens, well, you would be horribly mistaken, because every crazy person believes in ancient aliens. Dude, I'm saying all this from personal experience. Ancient aliens, current aliens, they're all real. And you know what? They're talking to Mama Chel. So she has a post where she talks about how she got contacted by aliens. And the post itself is, she has like this weird ass alien filter on that is not good and looks terrible. But the caption is gold. So we're gonna read through it real quick. I'm so excited. It was a bright sunny day at the beach when Ulisho materialized in front of me. He was a shorter greenish being who gracefully appeared and reached into his chest, pulled out his glowing diamond heart and placed it inside my chest. Telepathically, he shared his name with me, and to return to the beach this night for a message. All day I was vibrating. Girl, you don't need to tell us that. I was hardly touching the ground and could feel my new activated diamond heart pulsating through my body. I was so nervous to return to the extremely dark night, but I did. All right, quick check-in. Are you still following? No? Me neither. All right, let's keep going. I slowly walked towards the water, and when I entered, millions of glowing little beings gathered around my legs. It was an overpowering experience that dropped me to my knees, and I released lifetimes of emotions. I was lying in a pool of glowing beings that resembled my new activated diamond heart. Isn't this like a Steven Universe thing? Are we having another fanfiction? As these glowing beings gathered and held me in my release, I was reminded of how powerful I am and how much Ulisho told me I was of the Diamond Heart clan, with a K, by the way, which stems from the Emerald Order of the Founder of Races. So from this, I meditated on this information and accepted this information and allowed it to guide me on my mission. So let's recap real quick so we make sure we're all on the same page before we continue. Little green man gropes her, puts a crystal in her chest, tells her, hey, come meet me back at this beach later tonight where nobody else is going to be around. And she decides, yeah, I'm going to go do that, and then gets surrounded by a bunch of glowing jellyfish. Cool? Let's continue because it just keeps getting better. It's been a winding road of unlocking and remembering the deep knowings I have of our human creation, but I know I have the information stored inside my 48-strand DNA. I know that my information comes from the origin of creation. I'm so grateful to Ulisho and his guidance on this process. At the beginning, I would call on him a lot, but now I am all I need. Around this experience is also when I began remembering and speaking in my star language, or what many call light language. I have had many stellar remembrances and activations that I am happy to share. And then links to her retreat in her bio. So you have to pay to get that information. All the secrets to the universe, link in bio. I fucking love that caption. It's so funny. So she also decided that as a Texan, which by the way, we don't claim her, she needed to give her 2 cents on the Great Freeze of 2021. For those of you who don't know what happened in 2021, the Texas power grid shut down. Lots of people died. It was freezing cold. It was snowing. It was icing. It was terrible. It was a horrible time. Ted Cruz was on vacation. It was not good. It was not good. She happened to be in Costa Rica at the time and felt the need to come online and tell us her opinion. And as a Texan who lived through it, I have some things to say. So she went into meditation about this and got nauseous off this energy.
I went into meditation about this and immediately got nauseous. I got pretty disturbed by the energy that I feel from while I'm in meditation about it.
Then she proceeds to say that we live in a controlled environment.
We live in a controlled environment. We don't live in a natural environment where weather is just natural. It's controlled, just like everything else is controlled, and it's controlled by the elite in their favor.
And why would the elites want to freeze Texas and kill a bunch of Texans? Well, she tells us.
For them to target Texas, it actually makes a lot of sense because Texas, a good friend of mine made the comment today, Texas is the foundational core values, that America was started on. And Texas is a threat to the elite.
Okay. She goes on another conspiratorial rant about how energy is free and we have the technology for it, but they won't let us use it as a form of control. Apparently it's Tesla towers. She also said that this was the beginning of countrywide blackouts, which my mom and my mother-in-law also told us, and that didn't happen. So, oh, bonus round, linear time doesn't exist. All right, now we're moving on to her takes on pregnancy. Just right off the bat, there's a video of her giving birth on Instagram, tits out and everything. Like, I mean everything. She starts out on her porch trying to do a water birth, which, by the way, don't do that. That's really fucking dangerous. And then they move into the bathroom and she gives birth to her daughter. I don't know how that's allowed on Instagram. I got in trouble for wearing a low-cut dress, so they took down my video, but she can have her whole tits out and give birth. It's fine. I'm not salty. Anyways, she posts a lot about how hospitals are evil and they aim to kill your children, even mentioning them selling the foreskin of your children on the black market. Do with that information what you will. Because of this insanity, she didn't go to get any real checkups when she was pregnant with her child. Instead, she did whatever the fuck this is. Now, I know you could hear the heartbeat, and my man's pulled out like his MacBook Pro and was, I don't know, doing some kind of scientific shit. But being pregnant is a very dangerous thing already for both the mother and the child. And I find it incredibly irresponsible to not go to get a proper checkup with a proper doctor. Thankfully, I don't think anything bad happened in this pregnancy. Like I said, I watched it with my own two eyes. But how the fuck would she have known if something was wrong? That man hitting a bowl with a stick is not going to give her any insight into her baby's health. It's not going to cure the baby of any birth defects or any issues that might be coming or premature shit. Your baby's not forming properly. Like, that's not going to fix anything. But she makes it very clear that she does not care about any of that. So this is a screenshot from a video of her dancing with the caption that says, "Me, 9 months pregnant, ignoring everyone still trying to tell me I need a doula, midwife, or hospital to birth my baby safely." Turns out that probably would have been really helpful for her to listen to those people, considering she ended up being 10 months pregnant. Yes, you heard that right. 10 months pregnant.
Hey, I'm Chel. I'm 10 months pregnant.
So for those of you who don't know, according to Google, pregnancies past the average 40 weeks can be very dangerous for the fetus. After 42 weeks, the placenta starts to fail, the amount of amniotic fluid decreases, and the likelihood of a stillbirth increases. Not to mention the pain that the mother is in for being pregnant for 10 fucking months. That doesn't feel good. As soon as it was past 40 weeks, you should have been getting to a doctor ASAP. And how could she have known that everything was okay? She couldn't, because she didn't go to a doctor. So, in my humble, non-doctorate having opinion, Mama Chel should not have ignored people's advice. She is very, very lucky to have had a healthy child, and I am so happy that it worked for her, but she endangered her children and herself, in my opinion, which I can legally have. Thanks. Not only does she want to do this for herself, but she encourages others to come to her retreat to give birth as well, so they can receive the same treatment she did, which was none.
There are certain things that just have to happen during pregnancy, and they happen here. Safety, peace and quiet, animals, and super delicious high-frequency food.
I will say you do need to eat well when you're pregnant, but if a pregnant woman wants a donut, give her a fucking donut, okay? She deserves it. And the frequencies of your food aren't going to help your baby if your baby is late or premature or comes out with the umbilical cord wrapped around its neck. None of that shit's going to do anything. Mama Chel is not a professional, and dear God, please do not give birth anywhere near this woman. She also shits on other women who give birth in hospitals. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to blur this clip if I can play it, because it's another woman giving birth, but if I can't blur it enough, I'll just play the audio.
I posted this yesterday on my stories, and it created quite an uproar. I had a majority of you agreeing with me that this is not a free birth. This is 100% a hospital birth. She may look like she's birthing herself, but you can see a doctor there. She's hooked up to monitors. She's in a hospital. Hospital and free do not go together. People are saying, why don't you just let her birth how she wants to birth? Maybe this is free to her. It's actually not, because she evidently has had 8 other kids, all free births. This one, she claims she got scared and she went to the hospital. She mixed fear and birth, and you go to the hospital. That's how that happens. You don't get a free birth as soon as you choose to go to the hospital out of fear. Fear and free birth do not go together. Free birth and hospital don't go together. You cannot have both. Now, I don't know this woman, and I'm not talking shit on this woman. What I'm doing is I am speaking out about indie birth, about them claiming that this is a free birth and misleading people, because it requires a lot of confidence and a lot of mental, physical, and spiritual preparation to decide to birth your own baby unassisted and unmedicated. And if you are telling people that they get to actually have both because they're going to go to a hospital and get this treatment out of fear, it's misleading, and it's actually really fucked up. And it bothers me because I'm speaking to women on a daily basis, empowering them to go outside of the system and birth on their own so they don't have the complications that arise whenever you go to a hospital.
So the mom in this video is having her 8th child. 8th. The human body struggles with giving birth that many times, okay? Like after like 3 or 4, it's like, oh my God, we need to slow down. But 8? The more pregnancies you have, the more births you give, the more dangerous they get for both the mother and the child. So yeah, the mom went to the hospital and had the doctors on standby just to make sure everything went well. To me, she birthed that baby herself. She didn't get any help. She just pushed it out on a bed. There's just doctors on standby. So I don't know. Looked like a free birth to me, layman eyes. But apparently seeking medical attention for a very high-risk pregnancy is a reason to shame her. Mama Chel claims that she's mad at this woman for spreading false information about indie births, which what the fuck is an indie birth? But you can hear the disgust in her tone towards this woman who just wanted to make sure that her and her child survived this experience. All right, on to the trauma. Well, we've already discussed that Mama Chel herself has been through some horrible things in her life. That does not stop me from calling her out on her horrible takes on how to heal your trauma. The first thing of note is how aggressive she is with the idea of forgiveness.
These are the moments, triggers are messengers, so these are the moments for you to literally lean so deep into that. Come out on the other side of it. Go all the way through it. Come out on the other side of it where you can hug that person, tell them I love you, and not take anything else that they do personally.
While I think the idea of having to forgive someone in order to heal is bullshit and frankly very harmful rhetoric to spread, that's not where it ends.
So this is your moment for you to see them for who they are.
Oh, I need to see my for who they are. A pedophile.
See them as the child that was abused. See them as the teenager that went through this, and that. See them as that broken child instead of seeing them who the character that they are for your experience. So whenever you can do this and you reach compassion, grace, and love, joy, and authenticity, then you quantum jump. And then you don't have to deal with this shit anymore.
So let me get this straight. I'm expected to show compassion for the grown man who molested me for years because maybe he was hurt as a kid. Be so for real. You know what I've never done as a victim of abuse? Anything illegal with children. And you know what most people who are abused have never done? Anything illegal with children. So why the fuck do I have to be sympathetic to someone who was most definitely not raised in the same situation as me and could have had a very happy and healthy childhood for all I know and still made the decision to do what he did? And not only does doing that help me, but it helps him too.
This is a way you can massively quantum jump. And what's even cooler about doing it whenever you're with family is that they're going to feel this energetic shift. And everyone there that you have hugged and said I love you to, they're going to come out on a different timeline too, because you will release in you, they will also be released from it.
It helps him get onto a better timeline or whatever the fuck she says. And then we get to quantum jump off into the sunset hand in hand as if nothing happened. Love it. Great. So happy. She also says stuff like,
you can sit across from someone that you feel like has hurt you These are the situations you had created in your life so that you could grow from them. They did not do anything to you. Nobody has the power over us. That's just a decision we make in our heads. When we stop making that decision and we see it for, that is an experience that I created so that I continue to grow.
Nobody does anything to you.
Nobody does anything to us, first of all. Nothing anyone does has anything to do with us. Everything anyone does has everything to do with them.
So nobody molested me? Got it. Nobody molested you? Got it.
We're all reflections of each other.
I'm not God or a spiritual guru like Mama Chel, but I don't think a grown man assaulting a 4 to 7-year-old for years somehow is a reflection of myself. Unless you're saying I wanted it. Unless you're saying like little child me wanted it. Is that what we're saying? Is that what we're going with? Good decisions. Good choices. She also talks a lot about our shadow selves, which from my understanding is a manifestation of our trauma and negativity and 3D vibrations. She has a shadow work Bible, which sells for 97 doll hairs, and mini workbooks, which you can buy in a complete bundle for 144 fucking doll hairs. My takeaway from what she said and what her opinion is on this is that you choose to have trauma and to be upset about it, and unless you give your basically a hall pass, you're doomed. All right, now we're going to get into the topic of her children, because there's a lot of shit that goes into this. I'm not entirely sure how many kids she has. I have seen her give birth to 1, so I know she has at least 1. I need to bleach my fucking eyes. But it doesn't matter how many kids she has, because everything I'm going to say still applies. And before I start this section, let me reiterate that everything I'm about to say is my opinion, which I am legally allowed to have. I'm not making any accusations. I am showing you video proof and text proof and presenting it to you and giving my opinion, which I am legally allowed to have. Okay? Thanks. One of her more viral videos, of course, pertains to her children. The internet gets very aggressive when you start bringing kids into things. So I'll just play the video for you and then we'll talk about it.
You see those hormigas? Your foot's in the hormigas. Is it biting? Nye? Do you want to keep it there? Hormigas. Come on. You see? There you go, baby. Let's get them off you.
All right, so how are we feeling? Bad? Yeah, me too. If you're just listening, in this video, Mama Chel lets her child leave her foot, her bare foot, in the path of ants as they begin to crawl all over her toddler's feet. Yes, she is a barefoot mom. Are we surprised? No. You can see why people got so mad. The caption in the video reads, "Me consciously choosing not to pass unnecessary fear onto my baby like my mother did me." The caption under the video explains that her mother made her afraid of ants, but then as an adult, she did ayahuasca, and I quote, "made an alliance with the ant beings." That's a quote, once again, and then hugged an 8-foot tall ant, promising to never harm them again. I'm not an entomologist. I don't know shit about bugs, but these particular ants look like a type of sugar ants. So I don't think they aren't biting her. I don't think her kid is in danger in this video. However, there are some things we need to discuss. First off, as Mama Chel so loves to remind everyone, she lives in the jungle. The jungle. You know what kind of ants the jungle has? A lot more than just sugar ants. Great. So you've taught your kid not to be afraid of sugar ants. Cool. All right. Nice. Let's say she's wandering, she's playing. Maybe she's a little bit older. She goes into the jungle and she sees an anthill and she goes, "Oh, my mom is always yapping about how ants are the wisest and tiniest little things, and I love ants so much, I want to go play with them." So she steps in it or puts her finger in it, and it's not sugar ants, it's fire ants. And now your child is covered in fire ant bites. What are you going to do? Mama Chel doesn't believe in modern medicine, so this wouldn't be an option for her anyways. But where is the nearest hospital? Do you even know anyone within a 20-mile radius who has any medical knowledge, real medical knowledge at all? And no, I don't mean rubbing coconut oil on everything. Also, I learned that there is a particular type of ant in the Costa Rica jungle called the bullet ant, which has one of the most painful stings ever of all bugs. So take the scenario I just made, replace it with a bullet ant. Multiple. Now your child is covered in stings from one of the most painful insect stings in the entire world. What are you gonna do? No, she doesn't need to be afraid of sugar ants. But you live in the fucking jungle, and everything in the jungle wants to kill you. Mama Chel even states in that same caption under that video that they are living in the ants and the other jungle critters world. You are not the top dog in the Costa Rica jungle. And if you plan on raising your children there, you need to teach them that. It's not projecting unnecessary fear. It's teaching them their surroundings and how to survive and being honest about your reality with your child. Is telling children to not take candy from strangers an unnecessary fear? No. You don't have to go into great detail about why you shouldn't take candy from strangers. As a parent, you're not going to go into detail about a really gruesome, horrible crime that happened to a child because they took a candy from a stranger. What you're going to do is you're going to say that not all strangers can be trusted, and that if they're unsure, always go back to a trusted adult. That's not an unnecessary fear. That's not fear-mongering. It's keeping your children safe. Speaking of strangers and suspicious medical techniques, let's take a look at some screenshots from a video that Mama Chel posted where she talks about things she's learned since moving to Costa Rica and how these beliefs are affecting her children. The first one is, the healthcare systems are designed to attack the families starting with our children. So she's anti-vax. Cool. And they live in a jungle with diseases that their bodies aren't accustomed to. Great. Daycare is your baby's first example of enslavement. Now, I've worked at a daycare, I've worked at multiple daycares, and I can confirm that it is enslavement, but not for the children, just for the employees. But that's not the point. I'm so happy for Mama Chel that she's privileged enough to be a stay-at-home mom and have that option. But most people don't. But are people just supposed to quit the jobs that are making it possible for them to provide for their child and have them live safely and not in a fucking jungle so that they can be with them 24/7? And, by the way, daycare is extremely important for socialization. Kids who don't grow up knowing how to socialize have a very hard time acclimating to life in adulthood. Think of that one homeschool kid you know that's really fucking awkward. Now multiply that times 10, because you live in the fucking jungle, don't really hang out with other children. The only people you really hang out with are the strange women who have a lot of issues that your mother brings into her retreat, who howl and yell and scream and give birth in your house. No, that kid's gonna be fine. All right, next up. Nature is the only truth and the only real medicine. While there are holistic things that have been proven to help with certain ailments and certain things, it cannot cure everything. It just can't. For example, let's say your tiny human, as you like to call them, breaks a fucking bone, which most kids do. I broke 2. Do you, Mama Chel, know how to put that bone back in place so it can heal properly? Do ya? What if the bone breaks through skin? Coconut oil and tree sap isn't going to glue that back together. Caesar has joined us. A nice little interlude of cat ASMR. Okay, I guess I'm holding my mic now. You're going to hear my cat purring, sorry. This cat is going to be purring, so I apologize for the purring in the background, but I am not about to break this little baby's heart by making him go away, so suffer. I'm not saying that there are no benefits to medicine or supplements or fucking plants or whatever, but I'm not saying that there's no benefit to natural vitamins, supplements, plants and shit. But what I am saying is if your kid catches some weird jungle disease or any disease really, but you're in the middle of the jungle and you don't seek proper medical treatment, it could be a very potentially dangerous situation. And not even just for your kid, but for you. She also has mentioned that she refuses to use any products with chemicals on her child. But let's just list some things that have chemicals in them, shall we? Water, broccoli, air. Literally everything is made of chemicals. But I'm assuming that Mama Chel won't accept that list. So let me make another one. Toothpaste, vitamins, soap. All of these things are necessary for your child's development. If your kids aren't brushing their fucking teeth, girl, and I know you ain't taking them to the dentist in the middle of whoa, and I know you ain't taking them to the dentist in the middle of a jungle. Even the cleanest, most raw, most natural toothpaste is going to have chemicals in it because everything has chemicals in it. Everything's made up of chemicals. Also, not to be petty, but she very clearly has lip injections, and maybe she got them before this whole jungle arc, but it just seems very hypocritical to me. Oh, and she uses makeup. So Whatever. Next point. The education system will devolve your perfect tiny human. Firstly, I can tell Mama Chel did not pay attention in school because her grammar fucking sucks. I have a lot to say about this topic and a lot of personal experience with a parent kind of similar to this, if you couldn't already tell by how many times I've talked about my mother in this. But I'll start off by saying school is important. It just is. Sorry. Especially elementary school, because it's not just math and core classes that they teach. In elementary school specifically, they are teaching your children life lessons and the concepts that they need to know to succeed in life. Teachers have a huge responsibility to nurture your kid forward and help them grow. And in my experience, as someone who's worked in daycares and been a teacher's assistant, they do that. Most of them do that. What Mama Chel is saying really translates to me, in my opinion, is that the school system provides a place for your child to learn autonomy and independence, and she doesn't want that. It doesn't seem like she wants to relinquish any control over her child. I understand the fear of letting your kids out of your sight and out of your care and into someone else's care, but there's a lot that you can do as a parent to make sure that your kid is going into a safe environment. Parent-teacher conferences, teacher reviews, school reviews, talk to the principal, talk to other parents. There's so much you can do to make sure that your kid is in a safe environment. But in my opinion, those aren't an option for Mama Chel because it requires her to relinquish all control. And in fact, I have a video that proves that. The next point she makes is that strangers are often safer than relatives. From going through Mama Chel's account, I can tell that she holds a lot of resentment for her family, understandably, specifically her mom. I get that. But she seems to be passing that resentment onto her child, which apparently it's okay to pass that onto your kid, but not the knowledge that you live in the jungle and there are ants that can hurt you. But what do I know? I'm not a parent. While it is true that most crimes committed against children are done by people that they know, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is safer to have your child with a stranger than with your relatives. Again, they live in the jungle. What if her kid goes out exploring and meets a strange man in the jungle? Would you feel safe with her being alone with that man? Or would you feel safer with her being with her father or her aunt? Obviously, I don't know specifics about their family, but at face value, I'm taking my kid away from that strange man and we're running. And we're also not living in the jungle in Costa Rica, but that's just me. Not to mention, Mama Chel's bringing in random women into her home where her child lives for these retreats. And I don't know what the vetting process is for this, but she is aware that they are having problems, lots of trauma, and then they do heavy drugs and give birth and scream. And she's bringing all of these random people around her children. You're telling me that that's safer than having that child go hang out with her sister or something? There is nuance here, and I know that. But Mama Chel doesn't seem to believe in nuance. Everything seems to be kind of black and white. And that leaves me, in my opinion, which I'm legally allowed to have, very concerned for the well-being of her children. Now, there's a particular post on her Instagram that made me very uncomfortable, and I think you'll understand why very quickly. So the cover image, which I will show but blur the child's face. The cover image is of her new baby, which, by the way, she posts way too many pictures of her children, of her baby. A lot of pictures of her breastfeeding. And I am not one to shame breastfeeding. I don't think breastfeeding should be shamed or not allowed in public. But when you are posting things on the internet, posting things that people unfortunately find arousing, and you're showing off your child in the same aspect, there's problems. Just don't post your kids. Please and thank you. But it's just a picture of her child with the caption, "The moments that stole my innocence as a child." Right off the bat, I'm nervous. We briefly discussed some of the horrible things Mama Chel has been through. And to think that she's using her child as a background image for such serious topics is very concerning. But let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's just a cover image. Nope. I don't think I can show this picture, but the next picture is her laying naked with her naked baby, which is fine. I mean, she's just laying with her baby. But you don't have to post that. With the caption 2, referring to her age, I was by my mother's drug dealer. I'm not going to show any more of these pictures. I'm not going to go through any more of these posts because it bothers me a lot. I will tell you that every single picture in that post is a picture of her baby, her newly born baby at this point, with how she was assaulted as a child. Or how she was mistreated as a child. I have no earthly idea why she thought this would be okay or a good thing to do. Why would you even want to think about that stuff with your child? Like, I don't want to think about my assault when I'm around any children because I don't want to think that could happen. Like, what the fuck? What is wrong with you? There are so many horrible people out there. You don't know what they're going to do with these pictures. 1, 2, this is just a weird fucking thing to do. I am not accusing Mama Chel of any type of essay with her children, nothing like that. I have nothing. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying this particular post is very weird and exploitative. And all of the other things that she does with her kids leave me very concerned for their well-being. And like I said, as an essay survivor, I will fully support Mama Chel in sharing her story and her journey. Speak up if you really want to, but don't have your kids sit in your lap while you do it. What? Oh, and at the bottom of this post where she's exploiting her child to talk about really, really horrible things that happened to her for, like, it seems like clickbait, she promotes her retreat and her book.
Link in bio.
All right, we've made it to the retreat and cult accusations. And I'm sure by now you have some very strong opinions about this woman. I know I do. Especially after doing nothing but watching her content and writing the script for 13 hours. Please subscribe. Well, as it turns out, some other people have some very strong opinions about Mama Chel as well. Some who vehemently disagree with her and have even left early from her retreats. But before we get to those allegations, what are her retreats? Now, it's a women's only retreat to help women work through trauma and reconnect with the matriarch/divine feminine power. Here's a little video ad type thing that she has on her account.
And I mean, genuine sisterhood is so incredibly healing. It's when we get to come together as who we've been and who we're becoming. It's a place for us to kneel together at the feet of Mother Gaia as she carries us with her ancient medicines. We release what's dying and return to the stillness of our sacred feminine. A place of raw creation power, rest, and renewal. Sisterhood is a bridge to freedom, a circle where it's safe to be raw, vulnerable, it's safe to be seen and heard, because we share language that only with each other we understand. In the rhythm of life and death, we find our power. We rise, not alone, but together, in the truth of what it means to be a woman.
Apparently, by the way, it's only $500 to secure your spot, and I have no idea if that's for just 1 month or if that's for all 3 months, but if that's for all 3 months, that's kind of a steal. It doesn't seem too crazy at face value. I'm all for unlocking the sacred feminine or whatever, but here's where things get a bit culty. Now, we get this story directly from Mama Chel, which tells me all I really need to know. I'll have it play on screen while I talk you through it in case you want to read along, but there's no voiceover. It's just audio of her children screaming and her breaking coconuts, so I don't really feel like I need to play the audio. I'm just going to relate the story to you. So her story starts 1.5 years after moving to Costa Rica. Pretty much immediately, she started doing these 3-month retreats in a little place she rented on a beach. And her first students were a woman who she calls DF, who is also a stripper, and I don't know why that information is important, but apparently it is. According to Mama Chel, it's really important that you know that she's a stripper. And another person who is detransitioning from M to F, who Mama Chel calls Nick. So they have their 3-month ritual sessions, whatever. Apparently, both of them have a lot of trauma, and it was very intense, as she puts it. But after their 3-month ritual thing, they both stay in Costa Rica. After they leave, the famous farm presents itself to her, whatever the fuck that means, and she leaves the house by the sea unattended and essentially empty. So DF needs a place to stay, so she allows DF to stay there, and DF starts hosting retreats similar to what Mama Chel is doing. We following? Good. So Mama Chel allows DF to stay in that little beach house down there, and she starts hosting retreats down there while Mama Chel is up in the mountains, the jungle mountains, in her farmhouse. The new 3-month mentorship starts, now with 6 students. And by the second farm retreat, she was fed up with the drama and conflict that occurred. And by drama, I mean cult accusations. But it's no biggie, apparently. In this second retreat that she did at the farm, there are 2 old-ass people there. There's a 50-year-old man and a 45-year-old woman who apparently start manipulating everyone else on the farm. And Mama Chel points out that there are no distractions, because they live in the fucking jungle. There's no TV. I don't know if they have any books. There's nothing. So they're all around each other constantly, is what I'm getting at. And the 2 old people also both claimed that the other tried to have sex with them. I don't know why that was important, but apparently it is. Here, Mama Chel says some weird cryptic shit about aligning to motherhood and how Papa is here and ready to procreate. Basically, she wants a baby. Okay? She could have just said that. So she has a crazy-ass ayahuasca trip where she pukes like there's no tomorrow and is told that by someone, I don't know, I guess maybe Mother Gaia, I don't know. She's told that she will conceive a baby once this group ends. And lucky for her, the group leaves early. Half of the group was following the old man and this business venture that he was apparently gonna have them join, which also flops, allegedly, I don't know. And the other half following the old woman who had told her side that Mama Chel had been starving them. Here's where things get more interesting. Mama Chel says they were doing a vegan diet and non-processed food. And she also says, allegedly, that the old woman was hiding cans of tuna in her room and got parasites from Cameo. And I don't know if I've mentioned Cameo yet, but it's a drug that causes a lot of purging, and it's from like the skin, like the backs of a monkey frog or something like that. It's bizarre. I don't know, but they do a lot of that drug. What I think Mama Chel was trying to say in this is that because the Cameo makes you puke and purge and whatever. And so she was like, that's when they saw the parasites. I think she's trying to say, what Mama Chel is trying to imply is that the tuna gave this woman parasites. But in this video where she's telling the story, we watch Mama Chel just pick up some like weeds off the ground and then throw them in the soup that she's making without washing them. So no, I'ma say I think maybe the jungle gave her the parasites. All but 1 man and 1 woman leave, even the volunteers, which she has. The woman goes on to call Mama Chel a cult leader, which for some reason Mama Chel takes as a sign of power. Like she's like, you're giving me all of your power and I don't need it. That's sus. That's how you know that she is a cult leader. Allegedly. Don't come for me. 3 days after everyone leaves, she gets pregnant and DF, the stripper, again, needs a place to stay. So she comes to live at the farm. Mama Chel thought they could host these retreats together and it'd be fun because DF was already doing it down at the beach. Why not just do it together? But apparently, DF was on Instagram telling her followers that she owned the farm, and Mama Chel didn't like that. Long story short, DF leaves, goes back to Canada and becomes a Muslim. I don't understand why it was important to, 1, emphasize that she's a stripper, but 2, also emphasize that she becomes Muslim. I don't know what the significance is to Mama Chel. Your guess is as good as mine. But not before allegedly stealing money from Mama Chel and wishing a miscarriage upon her, which is shitty if she did that. Mama Chel says that DF also makes a video that I can't find saying that Mama Chel abused her for 2 years and then she reconnects with some of the other defunct cult members. Also, Nick apparently was still living at the farm, I guess, and DF manipulates Nick into leaving too. And now they're a Christian, which once again, I don't know why that's important to the story, but there you go. That's Mama Chel's story. Now, I cannot find any of these posts or videos by people who are claiming to be students accusing Mama Chel of making these accusations. But I do believe that people did. And here's why. Why the fuck would you tell this story? It does not make her look good. From an outsider's perspective, just watching that video, I'm like, oh, you run a cult. All I need is what is in that video. You have presented me enough evidence. But now I've done even more research. I've gone down your account. I know what you believe. I know what you do. I know what you fucking teach people. And I personally believe that Mama Chel is trying to run a cult. allegedly, in my opinion. Like, if Q is considered a cult, which it is, as someone with family member in it, who was a part of it, then this is a cult. I'm sorry. I gotta call it as I see it. Was she starving people? I don't know. Veganism isn't inherently starvation. I know that, right? We all know that. And she seems pretty healthy. I mean, she doesn't go to a doctor, so how would she know? How would I know? But she seems pretty healthy. She looks like she gets enough protein in. She doesn't look malnourished. But she also controls what everyone else was eating. So she says it herself. Even though she had volunteers or cooks that would make it, she controlled what people were eating, the portions that they were getting, and the food that they were eating, right? She had the final say. Allegedly, in my opinion. Not to mention the retreat is in the middle of the fucking jungle with no TV. I don't think there are any books. I know she has a Spotify playlist that is high frequency music. So you only get to experience things that Mama Chel allows you to. You only get to consume what Mama Chel allows you. You only get to eat what Mama Chel allows you. Not to mention the amount of drugs they're doing. Ayahuasca is insane, and doing it just once will fuck you up. And ayahuasca is very easy to abuse people with. There are lots of stories of people going and doing ayahuasca at a safe retreat and being assaulted while they're high, stuff like that. It's very easy to abuse someone while they're on ayahuasca. And not only that, they're doing the Cameo and whatever else they're gonna do. So everyone is high all the time, listening to only Mama Chel, only what she allows, only consuming what she allows, in a big echo chamber for 3 months. And any expression of disagreement is called manipulation. My guy, that's a cult. Not to mention, after spending 3 months in a giant echo chamber with this woman who has been controlling everything you've been doing and what you're consuming and what you're eating and like teaching you all this crazy shit and getting you high all the time, you're expected to just leave and like move on with your life. She has mentioned multiple times that people have stayed with her after the retreats. I don't know if they end up being volunteers, if they end up paying her rent. I don't fucking know. But like Nick stayed with her. DF ended up staying with her. She has said multiple times that there are people who are staying with her. So those students who are now volunteers, they're staying with you. That's so culty. On a farm in the middle of fucking nowhere. In a jungle. The fucking jungle in Costa Rica. It's sus. It's sus. All in all, are her beliefs insane? Fuck yes. And I know at face value they're really fucking funny because they are. But there are children involved. There are also pregnant women who are falling for this shit and going to this retreat and not getting proper medical attention for, their baby and themselves, and giving birth at this farm in the middle of Costa Rica where there's no doctor in sight. There are women falling into this trap of ritualistic drug abuse under the guise of awakening your inner femininity and reconnecting with Mother Gaia, who then end up staying with Mama Chel, because how do you move on from that? And I would like to reiterate, her children live here. So all of these former students, all of these people, these strangers that have paid her some amount of money to come out to Costa Rica and just hang out at her farm, also interact with her children. And like not just live there, play with her children and interact with them. These people who have admittedly severe problems. Once again, everything I've stated in this video is my opinion based on the posts and the videos that I have collected and shown you. So now you get to tell me what you think about Mama Chel in the comments down below. And reminder, 50 likes and I will read Mama Chel's Unweaving the Way of Trauma book and make a video on it. If you want me to suffer like this video. This was intense to make and I hope it does well. Like I said, it's going to be the start of a new series on my channel called Freaks on Friday. And I don't know who I'm going to talk about next. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them down in the comments below because I'm looking for any freaks to talk about on Fridays. Again, please subscribe, like. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye.